All right, folks, thanks for checking out the video. I want to do some poll analysis as of today, September 22nd, 2023. So, on the Republican side, there really isn't a race at this point. I know the mainstream media is keeping this narrative alive that there's actually a competitive race and these debates are important, and you know this candidate's surging or this candidate's going down in support, when we see here that Donald Trump has a 45-point lead over his closest competitor, which is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Okay. And Ron DeSantis's polling has fallen below 13 points in the Real Clear Politics aggregate. Okay. And Donald Trump is just under 58% support. Now, Donald Trump is also leading in all of the early states by wide margins: Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and so forth. So you can see the trend line here. Ron DeSantis' support has been really cratering over the last couple of months. His campaign has been absolutely dreadful. And he didn't have a great performance at the debate, which, I mean, if anything was going to jumpstart his campaign, it would have been that. And you didn't hear anything about Ron DeSantis from that debate, other than his hesitancy to say that he would support Donald Trump if he was convicted. Okay, he was looking around trying to see what everyone else was going to do, and he was sort of non-committal. So he didn't look good in that moment. So now, as I said, the mainstream press wants to keep this narrative alive that there's still a competitive race because they have airtime to fill. They need things to talk about. Okay, but if you're paying attention, in reality, the race is effectively over and has been for months now. Okay, now if we turn to the general election, Trump v. Biden, we see here in the Real Clear Politics aggregate, Donald Trump has a 0.5% lead over Joe Biden. Okay, now the last several polls here have the race tied: 42 to 42, 44 to 44, and 45 to 45. There's a few other polls. Some have Trump up by one, Biden up by one, and so forth. Now, if we actually go back to the general election polls from 2020, the final Real Clear Politics average was Biden plus 7.2, okay, which was a massive overstatement of the actual result, which was Biden plus 4.5. Okay, so if we see here Trump has a lead in the polls, well, perhaps his lead is actually bigger than what they're showing, since they've tended to underestimate Donald Trump's support in the polls. Okay, and if we go back to the 2022 generic congressional vote, we see that the polls were actually pretty accurate. The final RCP average was Republicans plus 2.5, and the final result was Republicans plus 2.8. So they almost had it right on the dot there. So the last two major polling events, the 2020 election and the 2022 congressional vote nationally, either had it right with Republicans leading or had it wrong by having the Democrat Joe Biden with a much bigger lead than what he had in reality. Okay, and if you know anything about the Electoral College, you know that if a Republican wins the so-called popular vote, they are going to win in an electoral landslide. Okay, even by supposedly losing the popular vote by 4.5 points in 2020, Donald Trump came within 50,000 votes spread over 3 states from winning the election, despite everything going on and all the shenanigans and everything of that nature going on. he still came very, very close to winning. Okay. And this time around, Joe Biden has a negative perception largely among the public. In fact, most people say that he's too old, he's not capable of serving another term. Okay. Most people say he's not capable right now, but certainly another term would be out of the question for most people here. So very interesting here. I mean, I don't think anything's going to change on the Republican side. And Donald Trump says next week he's going to meet with the striking auto worker union members, and I think it's a brilliant move. I think he's essentially shifting to general election mode at this point. I mean, there's no point in him debating when he has almost a 50-point lead in the primary. So, anyways, that's what I think. Let me know what you all think. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.